Alright, so this 3800 Series 2 engine has been dropping the antifreeze level pretty fair. I think I drove 350 miles the other day and it probably lost a quart or two of antifreeze. And so what the cause of that is, commonly, is an elbow down here that goes into the belt tensioner over there from the engine block. You can see it's pretty wet down there where it's leaking. And there's also this elbow down here that goes into the water pump from the belt tensioner that can leak as well. So first off, you're gonna either want to disconnect the ground or one of the battery cables. Drain the antifreeze. And down here we have a plug that's right in line with that hole. Now I'm underneath the car looking up through that hole, and that's what the plug looks like. So we're going to go ahead and take that plug out and drain the antifreeze into a pan and then put the plug back in once we're done. Now we're going to take this cover off the engine. Alright, to get the belt off, we're going to put something on that 15mm bolt head on the belt tensioner. And it's left-hand thread, so we're going to push counterclockwise to put some slack into the belt. Make sure that you keep track of how the belt was on there. So order of procedure, we're going to have to take off the alternator first to get to the belt tensioner. Then we take the belt tensioner off so that we can get to that elbow. So there are 3 bolts to take off the alternator. There's this one down here, one over here, and there's one right back here. So first we're going to have to take this off and swing this arm over so that we can get to the one back here. And then we're going to take this one off here. And you're also going to want to take off this clip here, like that. And there's a nut back here that needs to come off to get all the wires off the alternator. This nut back here is 10mm. Alright, now for this nut up here, it's 15mm. Now this arm has a 13mm bolt on the other end back there that we're going to loosen so that we can pivot the arm up. Like that. Now that the arm's up out of the way, we can take this bolt out that holds the alternator down. Then we can take this other 15mm bolt out. And then finally this 15mm bolt down here. So we have these 3 bolts. The shorter one goes in the back, second shortest goes down here, and this one went up here with the nut on top of the arm. Now the alternator just comes right out. Now for these 2 hose clamps back here, I already cheated and used a pair of pliers to get them spun around into place where I can get to them. And now I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers to get them clipped open so I can get the hoses off. Like that. And this one I already did, so you can see. And then pull this back out of the way. And then pull the hose off. And you might have to use a flathead screwdriver or something to run up around in there so that you can get the hose unstuck from this fitting that goes over. And do that for both of these hoses. And then now plug the holes on top here so nothing falls down in there while you're taking off the belt tensioner. I also went ahead and plugged the hoses just in case something went and fell in them or blew in them. Now there's 2 15mm bolts here and down there that we'll need to take out to And there's also a bolt back here. I'm touching it with my finger. You can't quite see it, but a 15mm bolt back there that needs to come out to get the belt tensioner off. Alright, so here's the 3 bolts out of the belt tensioner. They're all the same length and size and everything. So if you mess up which one goes in which hole, it's not going to really matter. Alright, now that the bolts are out of the belt tensioner, we can pull it out this way. Just be careful with those elbows. Alright. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean out these 2 holes that those plastic elbows went into. So they'll be ready, and then I'm going to plug them for now. So here's the belt tensioner and the 2 elbows. I'm going to go ahead and pull those elbows out. And I'm going to polish the inside of these holes, clean them out. That way it'll be good and clean for the replacement ones. Alright, so here are the 2 replacement elbows I have. And first of all, we're going to put a little bit of oil around those O-rings so that they don't get eaten up when I slide them into the holes. Now we can go ahead and stick them in where they'll go. Now I went ahead and preloaded the 3 bolts into the belt tensioner. Now I'll carefully slide it down into place. There were those 3 bolts, one here, one down here, and that one that was back here. My finger's touching it right now. And they're all 15mm, so tighten those up. Alright, now that the bolts are tight on the belt tensioner, we can go ahead and bring these hoses down and hook them back up. And I switched the hose clamps because I like this type better than what was on there already. Alright, now that those 2 hose clamps are on, I can go ahead and put the alternator in. And the alternator takes those 3 bolts. Make sure to put this short bolt in the rear, or else if you're using an impact or something, you could go straight down through the alternator, the hole to mount that, into the top of your rear valve cover. So that would be bad. Now that the bolts in the alternator, all 3 of them are tight, we can go ahead and loosen this bolt back here and drop the arm down onto the alternator. And then tighten it back up part way. And put that 15mm nut on top. And now I can tighten the arm up the rest of the way back here. Now we'll clip this clip back in. Then we'll put this wire back on. And it had a 10mm nut holding it on. Now we can put the belt back on. Now to get the belt on the rest of the way, I'm going to use a 15mm socket on a flex handle to put some slack in the belt. I've got it on the belt tensioner. There. And then make sure that the belt is in the proper grooves all the way around on all the pulleys where it should be, and then you're good. Alright, we're on the home stretch. Now just refill your antifreeze, because it probably wouldn't be good if you tried to run the car without any. Alright, once you added some antifreeze back, go ahead and loosen this vent on top of the thermostat housing to let the air out of the system. Now that I took the bleeder screw out, I'm going to go ahead and add antifreeze in until it starts leaking out the top of that hole where the bleeder screw was. Put in 50-50 mix or whatever you normally do. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and put in the bleeder screw. And put the cap back on the radiator. Now you can rehook up your battery cable if you had it unhooked. Alright, now double check that you hooked everything back up right, added antifreeze and everything. And then go ahead and start up the car and check for leaks. Alright, so I've let the car run for a while and everything looks okay. So I'll go ahead and turn off the engine. Now I'll go ahead and put the cover on the engine. And to do that, first of all, I'll take off the neck. Carefully put the cover on. Screw the neck back in. And put the nut on top. Now we are done, and thanks for watching.